Star Trek's first movie is really all about Spock. When most people think about Star Trek, the motion picture, their minds probably wander to the shimmering VGR, the spectacular special effects of the late 70s, or perhaps the awkward pacing that famously earned the film a reputation for being more ponderous than punchy. But strip away the optical flares and the suspenseful hum of the Enterprise's warp core, and an unexpected truth emerges. This movie is really all about Spock. Yes, Leonard Nimoy's half-Vulcan, half-human science officer is not merely a supporting figure. He is the emotional and philosophical linchpin of the story, the compass that guides not only the crew, but the audience through the existential questions at the heart of the film. At first glance, Captain Kirk seems the obvious protagonist. He's the returning hero, the man of action, the character audiences grew up loving from the original series. Yet, if we look closely, the narrative arc of Star Trek, the motion picture is intricately tied to Spock's personal journey, his struggles with identity, and his ultimate reconciliation with his humanity. The movie's most iconic moments, the mind meld with VGR, the tense interactions with Decker, and even Spock's subtle guidance during the Enterprise's high-stakes maneuvers, center on his inner conflict as much as the external threat of the mysterious alien entity. Spock's return in the movie is itself a fascinating narrative choice. Leonard Nimoy was initially ambivalent about reprising his role, citing the character's exploration of logic over emotion as already complete. Yet, the film's writers wisely saw potential in a Spock story, an opportunity to explore the tension between logic and emotion on a cosmic scale. And what better canvas than the epic threat of VGR, a machine intelligence evolving beyond comprehension to mirror Spock's own internal evolution? In many ways, VGR functions as a distorted reflection of Spock. Both are entities caught between worlds, struggling to reconcile seemingly incompatible aspects of themselves. Consider the opening sequences, where the Enterprise is dispatched to intercept a massive energy cloud heading toward Earth. Kirk's return to the Enterprise is designed to showcase the captain's daring and command style, but the emotional weight subtly falls on Spock. We see him interacting with the crew, particularly Decker, in ways that emphasize his struggle to integrate logic and empathy. Spock's attempts to understand VGR are not just scientific, they are deeply personal, revealing his own grappling with identity, purpose, and connection. The audience is invited to empathize with him, to see the unfolding mystery through the lens of a mind constantly balancing dual natures. One of the film's pivotal moments, Spock's mind meld with VGR, is where the thematic focus becomes unmistakably clear. This isn't merely a plot device to understand an alien intelligence, it's a meditation on the human and Vulcan need for understanding, for connection. Spock, the ultimate symbol of logic and restraint, reaches out with an emotional vulnerability rarely seen in mainstream sci-fi at the time. By merging his consciousness with VGR, he does more than decipher a threat. He bridges the gap between the unknown and the known, between emotion and reason, between isolation and intimacy. In essence, the climax of the movie is Spock's personal triumph as much as it is the crew's victory over VGR. Even the tension between Spock and Decker highlights this thematic centrality. Decker represents the human element, the capacity for doubt and impulsiveness, while Spock embodies calm, rational observation. Yet, their dynamic is less about rivalry and more about symbiosis. Decker's anxiety mirrors Spock's suppressed emotions, creating a narrative mirror in which the audience witnesses the nuanced interplay of logic and feeling. The film positions Spock as the stabilizing force, the observer who can process overwhelming cosmic events with clarity, yet also as the individual who can take the ultimate leap of faith when reason alone is insufficient. And then there's Spock's iconic Vulcan salute, his stoic expressions, and the moments of subtle humor, elements often overlooked in analyses of the movie. These small gestures, carefully preserved by Nimoy's performance, serve to humanize a character defined by logic. When Spock delivers a dry quip or a fleeting expression of exasperation, it is a reminder that the stakes are not only cosmic but personal. The audience is invited into his inner world, seeing the struggle of a being caught between two identities and tasked with bridging incomprehensible divides. Interestingly, the film's aesthetic choices reinforce this Spock-centered narrative. The vastness of space, the sterile elegance of the Enterprise, and the abstract, almost spiritual design of VG are all echo Vulcan philosophies of order, symmetry, and higher consciousness. Unlike many action-oriented science fiction films of the era, Star Trek, the motion picture is contemplative, often lingering on visual sequences that emphasize thoughtfulness over spectacle. This aligns perfectly with Spock's perspective. He is not merely reacting to external events, but processing them on a cognitive and philosophical level, making the movie's pacing and tone feel entirely appropriate through his lens. It's also worth noting how Spock's arc resonates with broader themes of the Star Trek universe. The franchise has always been preoccupied with duality, logic versus emotion, individuality versus community, exploration versus security. Spock embodies all these dichotomies in a single character, and the motion picture amplifies them. The film's narrative is structured around his evolution from a rigidly logical being to one capable of integrating feeling and intuition, mirroring the franchise's larger message about the value of balance and understanding. Kirk, while charismatic and central to the story's surface-level action, serves largely as a facilitator for Spock's inner journey, highlighting how integral the Vulcan officer truly is. Even the soundtrack, composed by Jerry Goldsmith, subtly underscores Spock's presence. The sweeping, mystical score often swells during his moments of introspection or during scenes where VGER's incomprehensible nature parallels Spock's own internal conflict. Music is a narrative device in this film, and it consistently elevates Spock-centered sequences, giving them weight and emotional resonance that might otherwise be lost amidst the grandeur of starship maneuvers and special effects. The film's ending further cements Spock's centrality. When VGER is revealed to be a probe seeking its creator, the resolution is not simply technological or tactical, it is deeply emotional and philosophical. Spock facilitates the union, the understanding, and ultimately the transcendence, positioning him not only as the bridge between humanity and machine intelligence but as the moral and emotional compass of the story. Kirk may command the ship, but Spock commands the story's heart. Some critics have argued that the motion picture is slow and meandering, pointing to its pacing as a weakness. Yet, through a Spock-centric lens, the pacing becomes a feature, not a flaw. The deliberate tempo allows viewers to inhabit his perspective, to contemplate the enormity of the universe, and to appreciate the delicate balancing act between logic and emotion. The film asks audiences to slow down, to think, and to feel, mirroring Spock's own internal processing and providing a unique cinematic experience rarely matched in the sci-fi genre. In retrospect, Star Trek, the motion picture can be seen as a meditation on what it means to be human, or more precisely, what it means to be both human and